Welcome to Couch Quarterbacks.
Hey guys, welcome to the Couch Quarterbacks in our auxiliary spot, I should say.
I was going to say our secondary location that's kind of turning into our primary / 50-50 location, Stein.
Yes, I kind of like here a little bit better because my room is right over there.
And you're 5 steps away from just getting out of bed and starting to film.
We are missing the dogs though.
Yes,
there's no dog interruptions.
Yeah, instead of them having to press the record button, we actually had to get up and do it ourselves.
Yes.
So we're missing our crewmates.
Yes, but guys, we are actually recording on Tuesday, and we'll have a video out by the end of today. I was gonna
say if it's not out today, then it will definitely be out Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
So
we had some interesting complications. I got some sickness on Friday, so we had no show then. And then Roach has been just swamped with some work stuff, so we finally able to get going tonight.
Yeah, Stein, the past couple of weeks we've kind of had to fluctuate in terms of our filming locations, our filming times, and everything like that. So we're definitely working with that, but still able to try and get out as many videos and as much information as possible for y'all. So now that Stein's feeling better, now that I have some free time.
I still have a cough though, so you guys hear my cough. I'm sure Roach might do some magic editing.
I'll have to bleep it out or something like that. But we were not able to film the Week 11 preview, but we have our Week 11 recap for y'all. So we'll go through all the games from Sunday and then also the Monday night game as well. And it also gives us a chance, since we're filming on Tuesday, Stein, and since we have Thanksgiving on Thursday, to preview those 3 games. So wait until the end of the show. We will preview those 3 Thanksgiving games.
Yeah, definitely some stinkers, though, as we were looking forward to that. As the statistic has been that every single team playing on Thanksgiving lost this past Sunday. So everyone's going to try to get back in the win column. But there's really no, signature primetime game, really, even though there is technically a primetime game.
Yeah, but we'll get into those 3 games when we get to that. But let's hop into the games from Sunday in our Week 11 recap. And the first game we'll talk about was probably the biggest upset from Week 11. That is the Texans, who had not won a game since Week 1, get the upset victory in Tennessee against the Titans, 22-13. The Titans were arguably the hottest team in football coming into this game, Stein, and they lose to one of the worst teams in football.
Yeah, huge upset here, folks. I mean, don't really know what happened, what went wrong for the Titans. I think pretty much what you can say is it was a wet game. It was pouring down rain the entire game.
Very soggy.
Very soggy, and that means sloppy. A lot, and when it comes to sloppiness, Tannehill, 4 interceptions, just bad stats all around. Threw the ball 52 times in the rain. I mean, we're seeing this offense turn from a run-first offense into trying to be a pass-first offense.
Yeah, and I mean, Tannehill, the 4 interceptions on the day, he has just not been the same Tannehill that he's been throughout his entire tenure with Tennessee. The first 2 seasons, he was absolutely great. Had 33 touchdown passes last season, Stein. Through the first 11 games this season, he's only got 13 touchdown passes, so a big regression there. You can maybe credit that to no Arthur Smith in this offense, no Derrick Henry the past couple weeks, but we've just really seen a completely different Ryan Tannehill this season, and he's kind of turning back to the Dolphins' Ryan Tannehill, which is not good.
Yeah, and his first 2 seasons with Titans has thrown 13 interceptions and 12 thrown so far this year. I'm sure
which is actually now leading the league.
Yeah, but I mean, a fourth of that was thrown. A third of that was thrown literally yesterday on Sunday. But just you gotta stick with what works. And running game just ineffective. 25 attempts for 103 between all runners. AJ Brown pretty much the only key contributing weapon.
And even he was held in check with just 5 catches for 48 yards. Left briefly twice during the game. One time with a hand injury, and then the second time, the more severe injury, he's actually dealing with a chest and rib problem. Yeah. Apparently the x-rays came back negative, so hopefully he'll be back out there next week for them.
Yeah, but he hasn't been healthy all season.
I was going to say, you've really seen some regression from him, especially lately. In the past 3 games, Stein, he's had 11 catches, 106 yards, no touchdowns. Back in Week 8 against the Colts, he had 11 catches for 155 yards and a touchdown. So just from that game, the 3 games after that, he's putting up just about the same numbers.
Yeah, and guys like, Julio's been hurt. Marcus Johnson's kind of been a mixed bag for them.
Yeah, he got hurt in the ball game as well. So you had like Chester Rogers, who had a fumble on special teams where it hit off of his leg.
Yeah, that was, and he turned backwards. That was an embarrassing, between the 4 picks and that muffed punt, just not looking. Was it a kickoff or punt?
It was a punt. The Titans had 5 turnovers in the ball game. The Texans didn't turn over the ball at all. Tyrod had 2 rushing touchdowns in the ball game. The Titans actually gained the Texans in this ball game, 420 yards to 190. But because of the turnover battle, giving them positive field position all the time, that's probably the reason why they were able to get some field goals, get some touchdowns, and why they ended up winning the ball game.
I mean, this is the definition for the Titans of an ugly game.
Yeah.
Just the weather, the play, everything all around. And bottom line from this game is just the Titans' offense has been stalling, and just there's too many turnovers. They're going to have a chance, especially with another AFC South team. They're going to have to really fix a lot of stuff.
Well, and one last thing on it. It's crazy that 2 of the 3 Titans losses this season are to the Texans and to the Jets.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
which is just a crazy stat to think about. They're one of the top teams in the league, and 2 of their losses are to those teams. So
yeah.
Let's hop into our next game, which is one of the AFC South teams that you were talking about that is on a surge. The Indianapolis Colts beating down the Buffalo Bills 41-15. And Stein, this was all about Jonathan Taylor in this ballgame, doing his best Alvin Kamara impression from Christmas Day last year. He had just 5 touchdowns in this ballgame compared to the 6 for Kamara. 4 rushing touchdowns, 1 receiving touchdowns, 32 carries, 185 yards. Just an absolute monster game for the second-year guy.
Yeah, 50 points in fantasy for most PPR leagues, and around 40-something for non-PPR. So just ridiculous day for Jonathan Taylor. We were watching most of his performances live, and we thought as soon as he gets close,
That's and as 2 Jonathan Taylor owners in fantasy football, we were always excited whenever they were getting close to the goal line that he would get the ball and get in the end zone.
Yeah, but for the Colts, the name of the game was just giving the ball to Jonathan Taylor, and it seemed to work. Right now, he is the best running back in the NFL, even without Derrick Henry. Maybe you can even make the argument that Derrick Henry was healthy, that Taylor could take the mantle.
Yeah, that's what stats-wise, after last week's game, it was Jonathan Taylor was actually tied with Derrick Henry for the most rushing yards in the league. So now, obviously surpassing him since Henry is still hurt and getting over 1,000 yards on the season. He's leading the league with 1,122 rush yards, and also with the 5 touchdowns, he's got 13 on the season. He passed James Conner for the lead league in that.
I've seen some comparisons to LaDainian Tomlinson, on Sunday, and just guys like that.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact stat, but there was something that he did in terms of the touchdowns and the rushing numbers that he tied some record from LaDainian Tomlinson or passed him as well. So if LaDainian Tomlinson and whoever you are is mentioned in the same breath, it's got to be something good.
That's good company. And on offense for the Colts, we said it's going to stick with the run game right now. Wentz, only 106 pass yards.
Yeah, he didn't really
have
need to do anything in the ball game.
Yeah, did throw a touchdown. Jack Doyle also was the leading receiver, worth mentioning, but 3 for 30. That's pennies,
with 106 passing yards, they didn't really need the passing game. Jonathan Taylor had the 1 touchdown that went through, so it literally was the Jonathan Taylor show. And when you're talking about this Colts team, started out 1-5 on the season, won 5 of their last 6 ball games, or started out 1-4 on the season, 5 of the last 6, so they're now 6-5 on the season. We said that they needed to get a victory against a tough opponent in the AFC, and they definitely got that with beating the Bills in Buffalo.
This game was in Buffalo, so the home field was not in their favor. And we even said at the beginning that the Colts had a really tough beginning to their schedule. And we thought they were still a good team, even though they were 1-4 or whatever they were at the time, 1-3. So, they're a team that's come on and really kind of looking to take a spot, especially with the Titans falling. Bills are falling, so wild card spots. Browns have been falling too, so wild cards are getting open.
Definitely up in the air. So it's good for the Colts. Like I said, they had some wins against some softer teams, so now getting a quality win is definitely big for them as they keep moving through the season. They still have their bye week in a couple weeks. They're one of those teams that has the week 14 bye. So they'll definitely have a rest in a couple of weeks, but need to continue this surge.
Let's not forget about the Bills though, which is still a good team. They're just kind of on a snide lately.
Yeah, 2 of the last 3 games.
Losing to the Jags and now losing to the Colts in an embarrassing fashion. And Josh Allen, just not MVP form as we've seen him before. 21 of 35, 209 yards with a 50-50 split of 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. Just not as effective as we have. We did see some nice catches by Stephon Diggs, though, for that for his touchdowns. Mm-hmm. So did kind of save his day.
Yeah, I was going to say, he saved his fantasy day for anyone that's owning him. Just 4 catches, but 2 of them for touchdowns. Definitely not the performance you expect from Diggs, but able to save it with the 2 touchdown catches. Dawson Knox back from that hand injury. He had 6 catches for 80 yards to pace the Bills. But the Bills have, in 2 of the last 3 games, losing to Jacksonville, now losing badly to the Colts. They got to kind of find a way to get back on track. They're now second place in the division with the surging Patriots.
They had one of the best defenses going into this game and just get embarrassed. So.
Yeah, they were the best defense in just about every category in terms of points per games allowed, yards per games allowed, getting takeaways, and they definitely fell flat in this one. So
they probably prepared for a more of a balanced attack compared to just a rushing attack.
And if you're Jonathan Taylor, you love to see that because we thought it was going to be a tough 2 weeks of matchup. The Colts play the Bucs next week, so 2 of the best run defenses. Jonathan Taylor have this performance now. We'll see if he can carry it over into next week.
Bottom line from this game, Roach, Colts running attack is scary. Are they the hottest team right now? I would also say the Bills are still...
I was going to say, they're one of the hottest teams, but I think the Patriots still hold the cake,
true.
Especially with the Titans loss as the hottest team in football.
But Bills are still good. You know, I still think that they could be a playoff team, if not winning the division, at least a wild card.
Yeah, and they got a quick turnaround as we'll get into the Thanksgiving games playing against the Saints.
Yep. All right, moving on. The Ravens traveled to Chicago in a ugly defensive battle. The headline of this game was Lamar Jackson, illness ruled out, non-COVID related.
Illness.
Second year pretty much in a row where illness.
I was going to say, between COVID and illnesses, Lamar has missed a bunch of practice time, missed a couple games as well. He's probably one of the guys most prone to sickness, I guess you could say, in football.
He definitely has... some kind of stomach disease that is undiagnosed.
A weak immune system.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, he just gets this sickness. But the former Utah Tyler Huntley gets the start and was not terrible.
Yeah, it wasn't terrible, but wasn't great in the ball game.
Did get sacked a bunch, but
he did enough to get the victory, Stein, in this low-scoring affair. He was 26 of 36 passing, 219 yards, didn't have a touchdown pass, did throw an interception, and then tried his best Lamar impression, 7 carries for 40 yards. Rushing, but like I said, did enough to get the victory for the Ravens in the ball game. He actually drove them on a game-winning touchdown drive. It was Devontae Freeman that got the rushing touchdown with 22 seconds left as they took the lead 16-13.
Yeah, weird ending to this one as the Bears were Andy Dalton comes in for Justin Fields. I was going to get into that, but hits a 49-yard touchdown to
Marquise
Goodwin with 1:41 left to take a 13-9 lead, kind of put the Bears in the driver's seat to get a defensive stop and win. But Ravens, 5 plays, 72-yard drive, and then the game-winning Devontae Freeman It was a touchdown run.
It was a touchdown run, yeah.
To take pretty much the lead and hold on to it. Other numbers for Ravens guys, Mark Andrews was pretty much the only contributing receiver.
Yeah, no Hollywood Brown in this ball game. He was out as well, so Andrews picked up the load, 8 catches for 73 yards. And Rashad Bateman, everyone thought he was going to have a good game with no Hollywood, just 3 catches for 29 yards.
Not a great line for a guy I want to see do well. Devontae really had a great game, though. 22 touches for 80 yards and a touchdown. That's pretty... retro signature classic Devontae that we used to see in the Falcons days maybe. Latavius Murray comes back. We did see Le'Veon Bell get released last week.
Yeah, one of the Ravens greats, all-time greats.
Very early last week, so Latavius, now that he's returned, was not very good, only 32 yards. And really, the Ravens have just had injuries and issues, but have still been pretty good. Right now, they're behind the Titans for the number 1 seed.
Yeah, just a half game behind them. They're 7-3 now on the season. We've talked about all the double-digit come-from-behind victories that they've had. Should have Lamar back next week, so get back into form on offense, back to what they're used to. But just a great job, battle-tested wise. I think it'll be some nice preparation when they get closer to playoff.
And this was definitely, even though this is a weak Bears team, this wasn't an easy win for them, as the Bears did have Justin Fields starting, we talked about he goes out with a rib injury, bruised, not broken though, so not going to be super long term. But Andy Dalton comes up in nice cleanup duty with 11 for 23, 201 yards and 2 touchdowns, including the one deep one to Marquise Goodwin. So.
So now you wonder. Because Justin Fields, they play on Thursday night on Thanksgiving.
Yes, they are another one of the Thursday night or Thursday morning games. Yeah, morning, I guess.
Yeah,
games
they're a 12:30 game.
Yeah.
But Justin Fields with a quick turnaround, probably not going to play in that game. So Andy Dalton going to get the start in that one. And you wonder when Justin Fields is healthy again. Matt Nagy, remember his infatuation with Andy Dalton, having him as the starter to start the season.
And Nagy is in headlines again as there's reports talking about how this could be Nagy's last game. But the Bears have never fired a coach in the middle of the season.
Yeah,
so
I did see that.
It's going to be interesting because there's a lot of smoke coming from the Bears camp.
And we mentioned how Matt Nagy pretty much all season has been
Yeah,
probably on the
hottest seat.
Yeah,
in the NFL
exactly.
right now.
Between him and Urban Meyer as two of the coaches, probably most likely to get fired sometime mid-season. So it'll be interesting to see as the Bears now fall to 3-7 on the season, 5 straight losses in a row, how much they can take of Matt Nagy.
Yeah. Bottom line, Bears dropped a winnable game at the end. They were in the driver's seat. But maybe the Bears were better with Dalton. Maybe Fields needs a little more season. Maybe Nagy's a genius and we're just not giving him enough credit.
Yeah, to save him for another week. But anyways, let's move on to the next game. Another defensive battle.
Another gross Big Ten-esque game.
Yeah, you have the Lions still looking for their first win of the season as they fall to the Browns 13-10. Browns improved to 6-5 on the season. Like you said, just a very ugly game. I mean, 23 total points.
Not a lot of
in the
notes on
ballgame.
this one, y'all.
Yeah, as Tim Boyle ends up getting the start for Jared Goff. Goff battling an oblique injury, and man, Tim Boyle, if you want to
the Tim Boyle Award for the one of the worst quarterback performances.
I was going to say, if you want to see an ugly stat line, Stein.
Yeah, I would say Justin Fields definitely has the award when he faced
against the Buccaneers.
Against the Buccaneers.
They had 47 yards of total offense. But
it was the Browns. It was the Browns.
The Browns, sorry.
Yeah,
okay, I was going to say, I knew once I said Buccaneers.
Speaking of Browns, maybe the Browns are like the quarterback team that
they've had a very up and down defense, but Tim Boyle in this ball game, 15 of 23 for 77 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 interceptions, and the interceptions were not good.
Some ugly picks.
Yeah, as he's probably going to end up getting another start as another team with a quick turnaround. Lions always playing on Thanksgiving. DeAndre Swift is really the only guy of note in this offense. Pretty much, if there's going to be anyone of note in the Lions offense, it's going to be DeAndre Swift. He's now got back-to-back 100-yard rushing performances, 14 carries, 136 yards, and a touchdown, 57-yard touchdown run to tie the game, and then the Browns end up getting a field goal to win it.
Yeah, so, I mean, just Swift is like the lone luxury for this team.
It's kind of like Brandon Cooks with the Texans when we talk about fantasy purposes, who to start. Yeah. DeAndre Swift, besides T.J. Hawkinson, that's really the only other guy of note on this Lions offense.
And even Hawkinson hasn't been producing.
Yeah, it's hard when you got a quarterback like Tim Boyle and then even Jared Goff when he's out there.
Yeah. For the Browns, though, it was Nick Chubb leading the way, 22 rushes for 130 with a receiving touchdown. Baker really didn't do anything, but again, people are saying he's still injured.
Yeah, Baker's got just about every injury in the book. I mean, when you talk about the torn labrum and the non-throwing shoulder, he's got a knee injury, he's got a foot injury as well. So, but he's going back out there and dressing up and performing. Well, I wouldn't say performing. He's dressing up and he's starting every single game for the Browns.
He's being a game manager. Jarvis Landry with the other touchdown. It's funny because Chubb had the receiving touchdown and Landry had a rushing touchdown.
Yeah, no, you actually read that correctly, Stein. It's not a typo.
It's not a typo. It's just guys flipping. We saw it was a wildcat up the middle for Jarvis and got the touchdown. I'm pretty sure they missed one of the extra points. That's why it was a 13-10 game. But just another ugly Big Ten-esque game, and I'm sure the sky looked as gray as
Yeah, so I mean the bottom line pretty much
the gray as the Lions jerseys
as those Lions gray jerseys, but pretty much the bottom line from this one, Stein, is the Lions still looking for their first win of the season. The Browns have kind of been like the Saints. We mentioned the Saints as a roller coaster team. The Browns have been kind of a roller coaster team as well. With one week their defense giving up 50 points, the next week they're only giving up 10 points. So
it is the Lions though with a random dude at pretty much at quarterback.
Yeah, I would hope you wouldn't give up 50 points to Tim Boyle in the Lions offense.
Exactly. So the Browns able to take that one. Let's move on to more north of the border battles. Not in Canada, but you know what I mean, north of the Mason-Dixon, as the Packers travel to Minnesota to take on the Vikings.
Finally, some offense.
Yeah, and probably the most exciting game of the 1 o'clock window, I would say.
Yeah, and the Vikings, once again, keeping their streak of having at least a touchdown lead in every single ball game this season.
That's an interesting stat.
And not actually blowing this game as they get a game-winning field goal, 29 yards from Greg Joseph. They actually still ended up, they tried to blow this ball game, Stein. They were up 16-3 in the second quarter, 23-10 in the third quarter, but Aaron Rodgers and that Green Bay offense were able to battle back. They tied the game, and then a weird kind of last drive, Stein, as Kirk Cousins does his best Kirk Cousins impression and throws an interception on the final drive. They end up reviewing it. The the Packers corner ends up dropping the football. They said it hit the dirt, so the Vikings keep possession, drive down the field to get the game-winning field goal.
Was the cornerback in that position, and we thought it was all but over. On Red Zone, they actually switched over and never really showed what the play was being reviewed.
Yeah, I was going to say, they didn't show the replay after all this. They just cut back to it. They were like, wait a second, they reviewed it, and then it got overturned.
But we were holding our breath with the kicking in this game because Greg Joseph and also Mason Crosby, who's also been rough, missing a few field goals and extra points in this one. So, but really, Vikings offense came to play, Roach. And let's not get, even though we make fun of Kirk Cousins, 24 of 35, 300 and almost 50 yards, 3 touchdowns, including 2 to our boy Justin Jefferson, who just is amazing, coming second season,
he's been
sophomore of the year.
He's been on an absolute tear lately, but 8 catches, 169 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Almost had a third touchdown in the ball game. He ended up getting rolled down at the 1 yard line, but like I said, another great performance from him. Adam Thielen was great as well, 8 for 82 and a touchdown, and then Dalvin. It's just the core guys for the Vikings really made an impact in this ball game. Dalvin was 22 carries, 86 yards, and a touchdown. Had 115 total yards when you add in his pass catches as well. So just the three-headed monster in terms of the skill position guys. Kirk Cousins was great in this ball game, and that's why the Vikings were able to get a key victory against their divisional opponent.
Yeah, and the Vikings, the offense just keeps rolling for them. Now they've back-to-back wins, puts them at the 6th seed. But they've been pretty much, like we said earlier, they've been in all the games that they've been in, that they played so far.
Yeah, all but one game this season have been decided by one score for them, so it's pretty much in their blood to have a close ball game, and this one definitely...
Oh, are we just setting up for an inevitable playoff failure by their kicker?
Yeah,
by Greg Joseph?
Either a playoff failure or it's going to get to the last game of the season. They need a victory to end up getting a wild card spot, and Greg Joseph's going to trot out there for a 30-yard field goal and just doink it.
That's just how it's going to happen.
A Blair Walsh-esque type play.
For the Packers, it was still team in the driver's seat. Rodgers was pretty good, 23 of 33, 385 with 4 touchdowns. I say pretty good. He was damn good.
So amazing numbers.
Yeah, that's pretty good for Aaron Rodgers. Not amazing for Aaron Rodgers.
He played through a toe injury in the ball game. They described it as turf toe, but then he said after the game that is something even more painful than turf toe. Apparently he got stepped on.
Is he immunized?
Yeah. Apparently he got stepped on in the first half, so it didn't help him. But obviously it didn't affect his play too much with the 4 touchdowns and almost 400 yards passing.
A.J. Dillon standing in for Aaron Jones was great, 17 touches for almost 100 yards. Devontae Adams, similar kind of playing Justin Jefferson, guys kind of playing against each other, 7 of 115, 2 touchdowns. Marquez Valdez-Scantling. It's
Say that 5 times in a row. That's why I put MVS on there.
Yeah,
it could have made it easy for you.
You're trying to make it easy. 4 catches for 123 and a touchdown, including that 75-yard touchdown. The ball was in the air for 60, 70 yards to tie the game at 31. And ultimately, like we said, the Vikings were able to come ahead.
Yeah, and then a big loss for the Packers in this ball game. Their offensive lineman Elgton Jenkins tore his ACL. He's going to be out for the season, so they've been trying to get David Bakhtiari back from his torn ACL. So you got another guy on that offensive line down. Bakhtiari, I also read something earlier today where he apparently had another procedure on his knee, so we'll see if he ends up even coming back at all or playing at all this season. So some big losses on that offensive line for the Packers.
With this loss for the Packers, they dropped from the 1 to the 2. They're still in a good position, but Arizona winning gives the only team in the NFL with 9 wins. So the Packers, but they're still in a good position.
Yeah, and they still have that tiebreaker over Arizona with the Thursday Night Football victory a couple weeks ago. So definitely in the driver's seat and have the tiebreaker, which is key.
Bottom line, back and forth game. Vikings got lucky at the end, but that is the only fun game, I would say, of the 1 o'clocks.
Yeah, so let's move into the next game, a battle of AFC East teams, and two ugly records, but one team ends up coming away with the victory. That's the Dolphins, 24-17. Over the New York Jets, the Dolphins getting their third straight victory to improve to 4-7.
Hey.
As Tua was good in this ballgame against the lowly Jets defense, 27-33, 273 yards. He had 2 touchdowns and an interception. A 65-yard touchdown pass definitely boosted his stats on the day, so Tua was good. Myles Gaskin had a great game as well, 23 carries for 89 yards, and then had a receiving touchdown in the ball game. Jalen Waddle, 8 catches for 65 yards and a rushing touchdown, so kind of like that Browns game where you had the running back with a receiving touchdown, and then you had a wide receiver with a rushing touchdown in the ball game. But like I said, the Dolphins, that Gaskin score ends up giving them the lead, and they keep the lead and get a touchdoon victory.
Yeah, Dolphins looking good. Offense is starting to come into their own a little bit as we see Gaskin, Waddle, and Tua, a healthy Tua, kind of all playing well. Gesicki in there as well. Can't forget about those guys. For the Jets, though, not a terrible performance. Just
for Joe Flacco,
not a terrible
numbers.
performance all around. I mean, the big guy for them was Elijah Moore, though, with 8 for 141 and a touchdown.
Yeah, a 62-yard touchdown.
A yarder, and Michael Carter 6 for continued his growth, 9 for 63, but did get a low ankle sprain and is going to be out for 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's a big loss for the Jets offense, where they had a couple of nice young key contributors.
Yeah.
We talked about Elijah Moore with the game that he had today. He's had a nice 4-game stretch. So now losing Michael Carter, they're going to be relying on Ty Johnson and Tevin Coleman. That's going to be a big loss, especially in their running game. Michael Carter was even big in the passing game as well. Joe Flacco, we mentioned how he was decent in this ball game. 24 of 39, 291 yards, 2 touchdowns, just 1 turnover with a fumble in the ball game. So we'll see if Zach Wilson is going to be healthy enough and close enough to 100% to play in their Week 12 matchup. Otherwise, it looks like Joe Flacco will get the nod once again.
Yeah, definitely it's Joe Flacco's team right now, but Zach Wilson, as soon as he's healthy, will be back. God knows what's going to happen on there. I've seen reports that saying that he's regressed in his comeback, so we'll see what happens. But bottom line from this game, Roach, the Dolphins are getting hot. Don't look now, even though they're still at 4-7.
They actually do have a couple of easy matchups over the next couple of weeks, where the next 3 games are all winnable for them, where they could bump to 7-7 and have a chance at least to get a back end wild card spot.
And with the Gaskin and Waddle both kind of taking charge in this offense, it makes Tua's job easier. So if they can get these 3 guys as their main contributors, they should be good,
Yeah.
And then, just typical Jets. They're just going to Jets, just keep losing games.
Use jet as a verb. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's move to the next ball game, and that's the Eagles with the offensive onslaught, putting up 40 points on the Saints, and they win 40-29. The Eagles do. They're now 5-6 on the season.
Yes.
The Saints dropping now to 500 at 5-5.
Yeah, Saints were becoming a hot team, but quickly have cooled off. And this game was just ugly early. Eagles led the game 33-7 after the third. Wrote in the notes you had the Saints originally leading 33-7, so I had to change that and put it in all caps for us to see.
I was hoping, since I picked the Saints in this ball game, I was like, maybe if I write the Saints were up 33-7, maybe they actually did win the ball game.
And I was like, wait a second, did the Eagles? Did the Saints just blow that big of a lead? No, the Eagles just continued.
Hey, that would have been a good headline for all the Falcons fans if the Saints blow a lead like that.
Yeah, but this is a lot less implications than a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
Okay. I was trying to be glass half full mentality.
Like, speaking of the Dolphins, the Eagles are a team that's kind of getting on a little bit of a snare. On a tear, not a snare. Complete opposite. And it's their rushing attack that's been doing everything between Hurts.
They finally committed to a rushing attack, Stein.
Hurts, Howard, Boston Scott, and of course your guy,
Miles Sanders.
He's your guy because I don't want anything to do with him, and I still don't. Even though he had a good game, 16 for 94, no touchdowns, but Jalen Hurts killing the ball again when he's running, 18 for 69 with 3 touchdowns. Not a lot of passing yards. Majority of his passing yards, again, to guys like Devontae Smith.
Well, and once again, in a game where they were up 33-7,
really
kind of like Carson Wentz, where you don't have to throw the ball a lot in the ball game. But we had a lot of headliners in terms of guys with big fantasy days. We talked about Jonathan Taylor already. We talked about Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams. So Jalen Hurts was definitely the guy for the quarterback position.
He's definitely quarterback like 3 or 4 right now.
He is actually up to the quarterback 1, I guess, with this performance with the 3 rushing touchdowns.
And no one expects that, because it's still he can't kill you with his arm.
Well, when we talked about the stat earlier in the season where about 50% of his fantasy points were coming from garbage time, remember that when the Eagles had such a bad record to start out on the season, so now starting to kind of get those rushing touchdowns and stuff, that's definitely equated to good fantasy production. Maybe not as much on the field, 5-6 overall as their team record, but he is the number 1 quarterback in fantasy.
They still have a lot of holes on that roster and still not comfortable, but they're definitely a young team that's going to be exciting for years to come, and the way they build, because it looks like Hurts is probably going to be the guy going forward for them. Just going to have to develop his passing, but his running ability seems to be sticking out. Jordan Howard, though, we mentioned again, good rushing, 10 for 63. He did suffer a knee sprain, expected to miss next week, but a knee sprain shouldn't be out too bad.
Yeah, they should still commit to the rush approach. They at least got Miles Sanders back for this
Boston
week.
Scott's been not bad at all.
So just still keep with the same game plan that's been successful for them of late. And big game Slay, Darius Slay, had another pick 6 in this ball game. He's had, I think they said 3 touchdowns in the last 4 ball games when he only had like one touchdown in his first however many seasons he's been in the league. So he's been on a tear on the defensive side of the football for them. And the Saints offense has just been a dumpster fire since Jameis Winston went down with the ACL injury. Trevor Siemian getting a lot of these stats in garbage time when they were coming back in the fourth quarter. He was 22 of 40, 214 yards, had 4 touchdowns in the game, one of them a rushing touchdown, but 2 interceptions, including that pick 6. Alvin Kamara out for the 2nd straight game, so Mark Ingram fills in as the elite running back for the Saints. He had 22 touches for 113 total yards, so filling in nicely, but they still just don't have any notable wide receivers on their team. Their number 1 tight end, Adam Troutman, ends up leaving this game with an MCL injury. He's out for 4 to 6 weeks, so just another loss on the offensive side of the football for the Saints.
Yeah, and interesting news out of the Saints camp coming yesterday was Taysom Hill signing a unique 4-year hybrid contract.
Yeah, didn't he in the offseason sign like one of those deals where like they take money from the salary cap later on? I don't even remember what the deal's called anymore, but it was a very big extension like that, but he wasn't getting any sort of guaranteed money.
I'll kind of read from Adam Schefter. The contract is anywhere between $40 to $95 million, depending on the position he plays, and includes $22.5 million guaranteed. That's a lot of guaranteed money for a guy that you're not sure how you're going to plug in.
Well, and it's even more notable because I saw something, Stein, where he didn't even record a stat on the game. So he didn't have a carry in the ball game, didn't have a target reception, didn't pass the ball at all. So you talk about this Swiss Army knife. He gets the deal right after he does absolutely nothing in a ball game where they just get destroyed.
Yeah, and they still haven't shown him any confidence to put him at under center. So it's an interesting. I don't know what the long term.
The timing, like I said, just the timing of it especially is very weird, and like you're starting to say the long term implications.
I don't know what the long term implications of that. I don't know what the long play is with this.
Yeah.
Saints just continue to fall. 3 straight losses since Jameis goes down with a torn ACL. Still in the playoffs though. They're
the 7th seed, last place right now, and they are another team with a quick turnaround, playing against the Bills on Thanksgiving. Probably the best matchup of the 3 games. But definitely going to be a tough test for them. They are at home in New Orleans on Thanksgiving, so we'll see if they can get back on
party
track.
Environment. They've tended to do well on Thanksgiving. Just a weird game. Saints kind of look hopeless without anyone good under center, and Eagles are just kind of getting better, just quietly but surely.
Yeah, they're inching closer to 500 and trying to get into the wild card conversation.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the Washington football team, going down to Charlotte in the Ron Rivera revenge game. Cam Newton returned. That's the name of the game. Cam going back to Carolina. And just a back and forth game. Cam's numbers weren't bad. 21 to 27, 189 yards, 2 touchdowns. 10 attempts for 46, including another rushing touchdown. Celebrated at midfield after one of those, kind of the classic Dallas thing. And then for that other offensive, Christian McCaffrey, 119 all-purpose yards.
Yeah, he had a nice receiving touchdown as well in the ball game. So a nice pass from Cam Newton, a nice catch from CMC as he goes up and gets it. And that, I believe, put them at a tie in the ball game at that point. But the Washington football team ends up getting a couple field goals to take the lead and the victory. DJ Moore also had a touchdown for the first time since like week 2 or 3.
Yeah, it was a nice
hot start that he got off to.
It was a nice pass from Cam. Kind of looked good. Kind of the name of the game was the Panthers early, but then Washington kind of stuck around this entire game. And for them, it was Heineke actually had the best Pro Football Focus rating this week.
Yeah,
16 of 22 for only 206 yards, but 3 touchdowns, so that's pretty economical.
Yeah, a great game for Heineke, and against this Panthers defense that have been one of the best defenses in the league, especially in pass defense. So a decent game for him and a good job to get them the victory. Yeah. And I listed all the guys signed for the Washington football team as a Taylor Heineke revenge game.
What? He played for them?
Yeah, back in 2018, he was a backup quarterback for them. You mentioned the Ron Rivera revenge game, and even a Joey Sly revenge game.
Did forget about him.
He's been about a 3-week veteran on the Washington football team. He had a couple field goals, like I said, to seal the victory for the Washington football team.
Tony Gibson for them, 19 for 95. Great day running the ball. And Scary Terry, 5 for 103 with a touchdown. Good performance all around. And also their defense played better. You know?
They've been better the past couple weeks. They've got back-to-back wins now, beating the Bucs last week and now the Panthers. Yeah. They're up to 11th now in the NFC, so trying to get them into the wild card race. And some good news for them, Logan Thomas, their star tight end that's been out since like week 4 with a hamstring injury. He's expected to return to practice this week, so hopefully just another weapon for Heineke and that entire offense to, like I said, try and get them into a wild card spot.
Yeah, bottom line, Cam plays decent in his return, but a methodical attack by Washington just kind of won the day for them. I mean, they were in it throughout the entire game and came away with it.
It was a nice back and forth game and probably the second closest one besides the Packers and Vikings one that we talked about earlier.
But not as exciting, I would say.
Yeah, two lesser offenses, definitely.
Yeah. All right, 49ers going to Jacksonville all the way across the country in a weird game. Niners take it 30-10, but it was almost a home game for the Niners. A lot of red in Duval.
Yeah, and you mentioned, Stein, just the cross-country trip. The Niners played on Monday Night Football, so the Eastern time zone, like kind of everything it seemed like was going against them, maybe to have a sluggish start, but they really started off well and controlled this game just about the whole time, winning this one 30-10, and they're now at 500 on the season at 5-5. Jimmy G in this ball game once again looked decent. 16 of 22, 176 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, he's been playing well recently.
Yeah, no Elijah Mitchell in this ball game, so they turned to Jeff Wilson was the leading carrier, but then also the wide receiver Deebo Samuel with a career-high 8 carries for 79 yards and a touchdown. It was a nice 25-yard touchdown run for him.
Only a single catch.
Yeah, only 1 catch in the ball game, so pretty much if you continue this trend, maybe he gets that running back designation for fantasy purposes. I don't know. It just kind of a la Cordero Patterson.
And you know what's his name's gonna do? Our boy. Why am I blanking on the name? The coach.
Shanahan?
Yeah. I was completely.
I thought Falcons fans hated Shanahan, so that's why when you said your boy, I was like, wait, you what?
No, former boy. You know what Shanahan does with his guys.
A love-hate relationship. Yeah, he'll find just about anyone off the street. He can make you into a great running back even after your knee surgery.
Maybe, Brandon Ayuk, though, was the best pass catcher, 7 for 85 and a touchdown, and a nice game for him. He needed that. George Kittle, only 34 yards, but did get another touchdown.
Yeah, he saved his fantasy day with a 1-yard touchdown catch. So just once again, the 49ers offense clicking, finding whoever it is to be a running back for them. Yeah. And then Jimmy G doing his part as they put up 30 points on the Jaguars defense.
Nick Bosa, 2 sacks, making Trevor look silly. Just kind of everything everything the Niners that makes us think of the Niners, they did. Bosa sacks, Jimmy G playing just well enough to win, and then just a running attack that's pretty balanced.
Yeah, so a great performance for the 49ers as they had the rough start to the season trying to get back into a wild card conversation. On the Jaguars side of the football, Trevor, once again, a bad game. had under 150 yards passing, no touchdown passes.
Yeah.
Over his last 4 games, he's only got a 56% completion percentage, a single touchdown, only 1 interception, which is good in the last 4 games, and then only 4.8 yards per attempt. So Trevor Lawrence, I think we knew he was going to have some growing pains in the NFL going to the Jaguars and just not having much on that offense, losing guys like ETN, DJ Chark, but I don't think anyone thought it was going to be this bad, Stein.
Yeah, and now they also lose Jamal Agnew out for the season with a hip injury, so that certainly does not help.
Yeah, guy that was surprisingly meaningful in this offense.
Yeah, a good special teamer for them as well. He's going to be out for the rest of the season. And then a guy like Dan Arnold, who had at least 7 targets in each of the last 3 games, 0 targets in this game.
Yeah, so a guy that was kind of reliable for Trevor ends up not getting a single target. A guy like Jamal Agnew, who had been stepping up and getting targets, he ends up going out of the game and is out for the season. Laviska Shenault was probably their best pass catcher, had 5 catches for 50 yards. Marvin Jones had a couple catches late to give him a stat line. James Robinson had a touchdown late in this ballgame, but only 29 yards rushing. So just overall, this Jaguars offense was stalwarted by the 49ers defense.
Yeah. Bottom line, 49ers get an easy win against a bad team. Take it with a grain of salt. I don't think the Niners are still that good of a team. The Jags might have just played that bad, and the Jags have the Falcons on Sunday.
Oh, so maybe Falcons can get back on track and actually get a touchdown, as they haven't been able to do that in the past 2 games.
The Jamal Agnew-less Jags.
Big game changer, but let's move into the 4 o'clock window. Just 3 games in the 4 o'clock window. The only one that started at 4:05 was the Bengals and the Raiders. The Bengals end up running away with this one late and winning 32-13. It was a 13-6 ball game. We thought we were going to come down to the wire.
Yeah.
And this one is the Bengals only had a 1 touchdown lead, but they outscored the Raiders 19-17 in the 4th quarter to give us the 19-point victory. Joe Mixon was the star of the Bengals offense.
It was the Joe Show, but not Burrow. It was Joe Mixon. 30 carries for 123 yards, 2 TDs. Other Joe didn't have much to do with only 148 yards, no pick, but did get the touchdown, so great.
The Raiders offense kind of held him in check in this one.
Yeah, Jamar Chase with that single touchdown, so you gotta love him getting his touchdowns.
Yeah, kind of a Stephon Diggs type stat line where he didn't have much in terms of receptions and yards, but he saved a fantasy day with another touchdown. The Bengals now at 6-4. They finally, I think they had lost back-to-back games, so they're the 5 seed right now, have that first wild card spot. They're 1 game behind the Ravens in a tough AFC North division.
Yeah, that's going to be a bloodshed. We're still expecting that with the Steelers, still hanging in there, and the Browns still hanging in there as well. So a team, you can make a case for every single one of those teams to win the AFC North.
Yeah, all of them are above 500 because the Browns are at 6-5. I think they're the worst team right now in the division. The Steelers, it's going to be even weirder because the Steelers have that tie too.
Yeah,
so.
And the Steelers did lose, but it's spoiler alert. For also the Bengals defense played well, a sack and a pick against just a rough Raiders crew, which Carr with a bad pick. Just not looking good.
Yeah,
tell me if you heard that one before. Derek Carr throwing a bad pick.
Yeah, the past 2 weeks, I don't remember this about Derek Carr, but just the rainbows he's throwing on deep balls where he's just like throwing it straight up in the air and just asking for the defenders to run under it. Like, I don't remember that being like Derek Carr's game.
Yeah. It's just not looking good. He doesn't have deep threats, really.
He needs that Russell Wilson type where it's like it's got the rainbow, but he can drop it right in the bucket for his receivers.
The receiver catches it like sideways rather than like this way, top ways. For Jacobs and Kenyon Drake were both whole lot of nothing. And the only bright spot for the Raiders was Darren Waller with 7 for 116, but still without a touchdown. So
yeah, and going back to Derek Carr, in the last 3 games, they've lost all of them. He's got 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions with no 300-yard games. Remember, he started off on the season when they were 3-0.
We were talking about
the top
MVP
passer.
Candidate, going.
Yeah, and he had like a 300-yard game or 400-yard game in all of those ball games. So he's definitely had some regression as the Raiders team as a whole has been losing. They have fallen now out of the division lead and they are out of the playoffs. And they play the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, so a tough test for them.
Yeah. Definitely a pissed off Cowboys team, and bottom line from this game, Bengals are kind of back on course, gearing up for the bloodbath that's their division, And maybe the Raiders are done. Like, maybe they're just done.
Especially when we're talking about the team that they're facing playing against the team that's now first in the division. The Cowboys and the Chiefs faced off, with the Chiefs getting a ugly 19-9 victory, a game that everyone thought was going to be just points everywhere. We were like, oh, over, definitely for sure.
Yeah.
As it ends up being a defensive battle, 19-9, that the Chiefs end up getting the victory.
Yeah, and Dak was rough. 28 of 43 with 216 yards and 2 picks.
Yeah, it seemed like every time they were showing the game, like he was either getting sacked or just throwing an incomplete pass on third down where they had to punt it away.
Yeah, and then, throwing the ball 28 times and only getting 216 yards. Not a great, yards per attempt.
Yeah, this is the second clunker in the past 3 games for them, is going back to that Broncos game from a couple weeks ago where the offense has just been non-existent.
Yeah, Tony Pollard and Zeke both only combined for about 80 yards, so not exactly what you expect from those guys.
Zeke did miss a little bit of time with an ankle injury, kind of rolled it after a catcher got landed on, so that's why it kind of contributed to the 9 carries. Did have six receptions in the ball game for him.
So that kind of helped. CeeDee Lamb, though, only 3 of 14, but did have a concussion, went into concussion protocol. Has a chance to play in the short turnaround, though we'll see. Will remain to be seen. With Amari Cooper out, though, this kind of makes the Dallas offense look just a little bit more weary.
Yeah, some of these guys are going to have to step up. Michael Gallup, they just got him back. You talk about guys like Cedric Wilson, Malik Turner, who had the 2 touchdowns. So there's definitely going to be some guys that are going to have to step up, because you have no Amari since he's unvaccinated and everything when he tested positive. He's going to be out the 10 days with them playing on Thursday. And if CeeDee's not out there too, you're going to need even more guys to step up. Dalton Schultz was a beneficiary of kind of stepping up when CeeDee went out in this ball game. So he's another guy that's definitely going to be catching some passes if the top 2 wide receivers aren't out there.
Yeah, also worth mentioning was Micah Parsons, the rookie, gets 2 sacks, continuing his
he's been a beast
his ability.
This season.
Yeah, definitely a guy that they didn't even want. Remember, everyone thought they were going to get Diggs.
Yeah, they ended up trading back, or Surtain.
Yeah, Surtain. Yeah, I knew he was.
I
knew he was an Alabama cornerback.
Yeah, they ended up trading back and then getting Parsons in this, and it's been a big payoff for them in just that linebacker core and the defense in general for the Cowboys.
Yeah, defense is looking not bad. Even though they did have this was a good. They did keep the Chiefs to only 19 points after a really good win by them, and making Pat Mahomes ugly too. 23 of 37, 260 yards and an interception. So not like great Pat Mahomes numbers like we saw last week.
Yeah, Pat definitely had a little bit of regression in this one, but because their defense stepped up. Yeah. They've stepped up over the past couple games, haven't given up more than 17 points during their 4-game win streak. We talked about how bad this defense was to start out this season. Now they've been a huge difference maker. Like you think this if this game a couple weeks ago with the Chiefs only scoring 19 points on offense against this Cowboys offense, there's no way that the Chiefs defense would have actually held them. But they've been much better of late, so they've definitely been a big factor in terms of them getting the 4-game win streak.
Yeah, definitely helping them. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire, it was also a boost in the arm coming back after his IR stint. Only 63 yards, but did get that touchdown, so that helps. Kelsey with a rushing touchdown, so that looked good.
Another non-running back with a rushing touchdown this week. 5
receptions for almost 75 yards. Tyreek, 9 for 77. So those guys kind of doing their thing, just without the touchdowns. We already mentioned the defense for the Chiefs. Right now, they are the 4th seed, but they are leading their division with a half game over the Chargers, and we kind of expect them to start building their lead a little bit more as we go. Yeah,
the Chiefs are slowly kind of coming back to looking like the normal Chiefs. We talked about the big Raiders win last week, kind of a little bit of a setback, even though they ended up getting the victory this week, but we'll see if their offense kind of gets back on track. Like I said, very promising that the defense held the Cowboys offense to just 9 points in this ball game.
Yeah. Tell me if you heard this one before. This is the bottom line. Cowboys beat up on easy opponents, but get exposed by better teams. Tell me if you've heard that story before.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds like the Cowboys.
Yeah, every single year. A lot of hype, and then they face a team that's better than them, and they fall back to earth. Mm-hmm. All right, the last of the 4 o'clock was the Cardinals traveling to Seattle. Cardinals taking this one 23-13, and just what is going on with the Seahawks offense?
Yeah, so Russell Wilson, like, it was the huge story about him coming back from his finger surgery, like, in 4 weeks or whatever, and all the, like, training and everything to get back into this situation, and he's been bad in these 2 games, Stein. I mean, against decent defenses and the Packers and the Cardinals, but just 207 yards in this one, sacked 4 times, didn't have a touchdown pass, so he hasn't looked good in the 2 games back, so it kind of makes you wonder, it's like, did he kind of rush back? Is he still not 100% right now?
Yeah, maybe there's just something going on in Seattle. DJ Dallas with the single touchdown for them.
That's like their 8th string running back. They got like 12 guys on there.
Yeah, Tyler Lockett was actually pretty decent, 4 for 115, but DK, just another non-factor game, 4 for 31. Not a great game at all. Yeah,
Tyler Lockett had a couple long catches. DK just 4 for 31. Didn't get ejected in this ball game, so you want to look for a plus side for him.
That is improvement. Yeah, that's 100% improvement.
Yeah, but back-to-back duds on the stat line. Yeah. But it's hard for him to be effective when you got Russell Wilson only throwing for 207 yards.
Yeah. I mean, this is a winnable game for the Seahawks because you look at the other side of the ball, and the guy who's leading the Cardinals is Colt McCoy, but he strikes back.
Who would have thought Colt McCoy would have 2 wins in 2021 as a starting quarterback?
Yeah, but Colt McCoy strikes back with a great game, 35 of 44, great completion percentage with 328 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
those are starting quarterback numbers.
I would never believe Colt McCoy would have a stat line like that. I mean, the Seahawks defense is kind of middle of the pack to a bottom tier defense, but this game was in Seattle too, so in the home of the 12th man to put up those kind of numbers as a backup quarterback was impressive. James Conner, as a starting running back, had 21 carries, 62 yards, and another touchdown.
Definitely has stepped into that role and is one of the leading guys in terms of touchdowns in the NFL right now.
Yeah, second behind Jonathan Taylor.
Yes.
And then a great game for their midseason acquisition in Zach Ertz. 8 catches for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's been one of the top tight ends in this very pass-happy offense.
Yeah, Rondell Moore had 11 catches to help too, and A.J. Green played well as well. Don't have his numbers, but he was a factor for them.
Yeah, so the Cardinals, even without Kyler Murray these past 3 games, Colt McCoy goes 2-1. He keeps them at 9-2. In first place, they regain first place overall in the NFL and first place in the NFC. And it's been very impressive, like I said, without Kyler Murray and, like you said, without DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, things have been working for them. And for the Seahawks, is Pete Carroll's seat getting hot?
Yeah, everyone's kind of mentioning they're like one of the 2 guys is out of the door, if not both of them, between Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll. You know, the drama that happened with Russell Wilson in the offseason with his agent and stuff. So with the Seahawks at 3-7 now in the season, last place in their division, I think one of them is going to be gone.
Yeah, definitely. I think that it might be time for a new setting in all of Seattle, to kind of get things going. I don't know where Russ could be going. That's a topic for another show, but I think Pete Carroll might be out the door. I mean, he has a Super Bowl. He's had inspiring teams, but right now it's just things are just going the wrong direction for them.
He could return back to USC.
That's true. There are a lot of coaching jobs. As we also, Dan Mullen was fired from Florida. We didn't get to mention that on the show.
There's some very high-profile college football jobs
Urban
out
Meyer
there.
jobs are plenty.
There we go. We'll go back to like 2010. We'll have Urban Meyer back at Florida. We'll have Pete Carroll at USC.
Wow, the media would love that.
Live in the past.
Yeah, and I don't know what's going to happen to Sarkisian at Texas, but let's just put someone else at Texas. Matt Brown back to Texas.
Yeah, so let's move into the Sunday night football game and a high-scoring affair, a game that looked like the Chargers were going to run away with it easily, but the Steelers end up having a late comeback, but it was all for naught as the Chargers win 41-37. Chargers 6-4 on the season. The Steelers 5-4-1. Like I said, the Steelers trailed this one 27-10 and 34-20, but then the offense gets 17 points in under 2 minutes of time to take a 37-34 lead. The Chargers get the ball back after that with under 4 minutes to go, and Justin Herbert, who was great in this ball game, ends up throwing a 53-yard touchdown pass to Mike Williams with just over 2 minutes remaining, and then the Chargers defense holds against the Steelers, and they get the victory.
This Chargers offense reminds me a lot of that Vikings offense. You just have guys who are good at all passes.
Yeah, and they're very similar in terms of there's some games where they just absolutely disappear as well, where Kirk
exactly.
Cousins just has those complete dud games.
We've seen Herbert have a few duds this year too.
Yeah, especially of late because they had lost 3 of their last 4 ball games where we had seen some bad games from Herbert, but he was amazing in this one. 30 of 41, 382 pass yards, 3 touchdowns with just 1 interception, and also led the team rushing. He had just chunk gain after chunk gain.
Even though he wasn't
the
the best rushing guy all night for them, because Austin Eckler, 11 for 50, 2 touchdowns rushing. Pretty good. 6 for 65, 2 touchdowns receiving. So put him up there with Jonathan Taylor. He scored around 40 points fantasy-wise. So if you had Taylor and Eckler as your running backs, and Mixon, if you, I don't know, you got maybe flex.
Yeah, man. I'm sure, I think there was one of my leagues where someone scored over 200 points in a super flex league. So.
Yeah, I saw somebody had Jonathan Taylor with 70 points, but I don't know how you're scoring that.
Yeah, that must be like an adjusted PPR in terms of like PPR premium.
Yeah, I think it was first down, something like that.
Yeah, that's what, somehow I had escaped, like, playing against Jonathan Taylor, Devontae Adams. I only played against Justin Jefferson in one league. I was like escaping all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And then one of my matchups came down to the Sunday night game where I needed Deontay Johnson to outscore Austin Eckler. And let's just say that didn't happen.
No, Deontay, you got to give him credit, though. He had an admirable effort.
Yeah, he was 7 for 101 and a touchdown. I was only down by like 4 points at halftime, but then he didn't do much in the second half, and Austin Eckler just had 2 more touchdowns.
Yeah.
So
Keenan Allen, though, for the Chargers, continuing their offense, 9 for 112, so another good. Didn't get a touchdown, but still great numbers.
Yeah, he's just been a PPR monster. Yeah. And going back to Mike Williams, he had 5 for 97 and that game-winning touchdown for them. So there's the Chargers offense clicking on all cylinders, and they're currently the 6th seed right now in the AFC.
And they seem like they could be a better seed, but they're going to have to contend with the Chiefs to move up in their division. And the Big Ben return game, I don't know if you can call this the return game. I mean, he didn't play last weekend.
Missing the game with COVID. Definitely had better stats than Mason Rudolph, that's for sure.
Yeah, or Mason Rudolph would have thrown up.
28 of 44, 273 yards. He had 3 touchdowns in the ball game. Najee Harris, probably his quietest game of the season. Just 12 carries for 39 yards and a touchdown. At one point, left the game to be evaluated with a concussion.
Yeah, there was some news saying that he was on the ground, that it looked ugly, but he did come back, so that's a good sign. And then we already mentioned Deontay Johnson, 7 for 101 and a touchdown. And Steelers are still in the playoff hunt, even though I think it's either them or the Browns have the worst record in the AFC North. It's the Steelers.
Yeah, the Steelers do. Because the Browns are 6-5, Steelers 5-4-1. Well, actually, it might come down to win percentage. Yeah,
I don't know.
We'd have to look at that. But like I said, a very competitive AFC North where all the teams are above 500. A very exciting Monday night game. We've been treated well with the primetime games this season, so we're not disappointed in this one.
Yep. I mean, Sunday night game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said all primetime games.
Oh, yeah. Moving on to the Monday night game, though. We usually don't get to recap the Monday night game. Well, we do on, maybe on our preview show, but we can go ahead and recap it a little bit. The Giants travel.
Not a whole lot to talk about, though.
Yeah, Giants travel to Tampa Bay to take on Tom Brady and the Bucs. And I'm sure I didn't watch this one, but I'm sure the commentary by Eli Manning about his boy Tom Brady was probably gold.
Yeah, it's interesting with Eli Manning talking about his team and the Giants against the guy that he beat twice in the Super Bowl with Tom Brady. So yeah, I didn't watch the Manning cast. I watched the normal broadcast of the game, but I'm sure it'd be interesting to see some clips from that with some of the stuff that he had to say. It was a close game to start out. The game was tied 10-10 in the second quarter, but then obviously the Bucs going on a big run and winning this one 30-10. The Giants offense went silent after getting the early touchdown. Tom Brady, 30 of 46, 307 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. He had touchdown passes to his 2 leading receivers. Mike Evans was 6 for 73 and a touchdown. Chris Godwin, 6 for 65 and a touchdown. Gronk, 6 for 71. He had missed 5 of the last 6 games, so nice to see him back and performing. And then Leonard Fournette, 35 rush yards, also 6 receptions. This kind of got sprinkled into this offense.
Yeah, one of the rushing touchdowns was stolen by Ronald Jones for Fournette. A.J. Green was not playing, correct?
A.J. Brown was not playing, yes. Not A.J. Green.
A.J.
Green played for
Antonio
the Cardinals.
Antonio Brown.
Yeah, oh my God.
Wow, we are just messing up our
names
names
let's
today.
see. We're 58 minutes into this show. I guess
Antonio Brown
all
was
over
not
the
playing
place.
today, right? Did not play last night?
Yeah, no, he did not play.
Yeah, so there's been some COVID concerns about Antonio Brown, about
allegedly
a fake COVID card, which has a lot more
felony
implications than just on the football field. So we'll see that. But for the Giants, just uninspiring offense. Also, big news, firing Jason Garrett. Wow,
Jeez, the names are all over the place. Yeah.
Firing Jason Garrett today, so he is gone. Did have
That's a pretty tough fire after you're playing against the Bucs. I mean, them having a top defense, but this has obviously been a long-going thing. A lot of people didn't think he'd survive after last season's performance from the Giants offense.
I mean, you have weapons. You have Saquon.
Well, they just haven't been on the field all season together.
Yeah, and the Giants' only touchdown was to offensive lineman, former Georgia Bulldog, Andrew Thomas.
Yeah, that was a very weird play where he's basically on the end of the line, so he's an eligible guy, kind of like a tight end where it looks like it's going to be a run play, and then he just kind of bleeds out into the end zone, and he actually made a decent catch. He kind of got a little bit off the ground, but that was the only touchdown of the day, and just kind of summed up the Giants' offense as a whole.
Yeah.
Danny Dimes just a touchdown and 2 interceptions. Saquon had 12 touches in his return, 6 rushes for 25 yards, 6 catches for 31 yards. That was his first game since week 5 when he rolled his ankle. Obviously couldn't get the rush game involved too much since they were trailing for the majority of the ball game.
Yeah.
And one of the top rush defenses in the Bucs.
Yeah, Kadarius Toney, pretty much the only pass catcher of note, 7 for 40. Guy has been just interesting, hasn't been consistent for them yet. Could we see? We don't know. He's still kind of been up in the air. And Kenny Golladay, 2 targets, 1 catch for 12 yards.
Yeah, I know one catch was like on their first drive of the ball game.
I know this is his second game since week 5, but dude has been their biggest offseason acquisition and hasn't done anything.
Yeah, they're slowly getting their weapons back. Sterling Shepard was really the biggest guy of note that didn't play in this ball game, so hopefully he can be back next week and the Giants can actually play a game this season with all their offensive weapons.
Yeah, even with a full complement though, I don't think they're that much scary of an offense.
And especially when you got Daniel Jones, who you don't know what you're going to get from him at quarterback, and then the offensive line, which is just about a turnstile every single week. So we'll see what we can get. It's kind of a week by week type thing with what to expect from the Giants offense.
And this is an interesting stat. They say that the Giants have lost 10 straight primetime games.
Yeah, that's what I found.
Because they seem to be on primetime like the Cowboys, similar times.
It's probably because they're playing the Cowboys every single time.
Yeah, or the Eagles or
they
something.
They just lose to them, but the Bucs getting the victory moved to 7-3. The Giants fall to 3-7 on the season. So after our week 11, Stein, I finished 9-5 on the week, but head to head, I could not beat you as you went 10-4, going 2-1 in our 3 games that we had different.
Yes.
The Cowboys-Chiefs game was the deciding factor in this one. I don't know why I picked the Saints in this one. Well, to defend myself, the reason I picked the Saints was early on in the week. I was thinking Kamara was going to play. He was a limited participant early in the week in practice, and then ends up not playing in the game. But anyway, so that means Stein, I'm getting sick of these double punishments.
I know. I'm catching up, Roach. And our overall ratings, you're 97-51 in 1, and I'm 96-52. So we are 1 game apart.
Yeah, literally a 1 game difference. But I'm on a 4-week losing streak now, so I got to find a way to get back on track. I need some sage or something like that to bless my picking abilities. But on our next show, we'll end up doing those punishments. So stay tuned for that. But Stein, before we finish out, like I said, since we're filming on a Tuesday, we can actually cover the 3 games that will be on Thanksgiving, and we already kind of got to it. We're all 6 teams that are playing on Thanksgiving lost. This might be the worst slate of games on Thanksgiving ever. It seems like not as much just as the teams, because there's a couple of good teams like the Cowboys, the Bills. Saints and Raiders are both 500, but just in terms of how they're kind of limping into these games. When you talk about the Bears and the Lions don't have a win this season. The Bears on a 5-game win streak. Raiders a 3-game lose streak. Yeah. Cowboys lost 2 out of 3.
It's the single divisional conference matchup is the Bears and the Lions, whereas the other 2 are non-conference, non-divisional matchups.
You're telling me we couldn't get an AFC North matchup or an NFC West?
AFC South, NFC West, one of those things as just... It's an ugly ugly slate of games. We do have some buys, though, the 2C teams. That would have been a great primetime game in Chiefs-Cardinals if those guys could have played each other.
Yeah.
But those are going to be Week 12 buys. But let's get into it with the first game, the 12:30, the early window. And obviously the Lions always play on Thanksgiving, so the Lions are playing, and they're taking on the lowly Bears. 5-game losing streak for the Bears, and for the Lions, it's been I don't know if you can call it a losing streak with the tie, but
because they had the tie 2 weeks ago, so they lost last week's game. So overall, no win on the season, and they've lost their last 4 games on Thanksgiving, including 2 of those coming to the Bears. And we have a possible quarterback matchup. I hate to even say this, Stein, without kind of like throwing up in my mouth, but possible Andy Dalton versus Tim Boyle quarterback matchup.
But it's not like Fields versus Goff would have been any much better.
Yeah,
though,
true.
You know?
I think it's just the fact that Justin Fields isn't
you can
playing
mix
in
and
this
match
ball
any
game.
of these. You could say Fields versus Boyle or Boyle versus what's his name?
It's not much of a step up, but it's a little bit of a step up if we had Fields versus Goff.
Goff versus Dalton would have been interesting too, but I mean, just
2 veterans in the league.
It's just not a great, exciting matchup. And for the Lions, 3rd fewest points per game in the league, 6th fewest yards per game. Bears have the 4th fewest points per game and the 2nd fewest yards per game.
So this is going to be a 35-31 final score. It's basically what we're all setting up for.
Yeah. And for the Lions, their defense is lacking, whereas the Bears' defense isn't as, not terrible.
They still have a great defense. I mean, this is probably going, in all seriousness, one would think this is going to be very similar to the game that the Bears just had, the 16-13 game against the Ravens, or the Lions just had the 13-10 game against the Browns. So you expect something more similar to that, just based on everything we've been saying and how these teams have kind of trended for the season.
Yeah. Ultimately, though, Roach, I'm sticking with the Lions through and through.
So you don't care who's starting at quarterback?
I don't care who's going to stick.
You trust in Tim Boyle to get a win?
I think they're going to get it done. I think the news about Nagy is going to be too much of a distraction. They're saying the players even want Nagy fired. I don't know if you read that.
Okay.
But some Chicago players, So I think they're not going to play inspired for Nagy. And I think
Stein, trust me, as someone that has actually picked the Lions before and made some
the
bad
Jags
picks
too,
in my day.
This might be my one bag.
Hopefully this will put me back on track.
I
But
just
I
need
will
something exciting on Thursday. This is my exciting game.
I will say I'm picking the Bears in this one, but if Jared Goff ends up playing this game, I might end up switching my picks. So kind of stay tuned on Thursday. We might put out our final picks for this one, but I'm kind of on the fence right now. So we're on Tuesday. I might need to see how some injury reports shake out. We'll maybe put up on the Instagram story our official picks for the day.
Yeah, it'll be a fun day, even though there's some crappy games, But so you're sticking with the Bears right now on paper.
Yes,
on paper.
I put it in pencil. I put it in pencil.
It's not in pen, not in stone either.
Yes.
4:30 game. So this is the game you might have after you finish your food. You might be watching this game during food.
I was going to say it depends on if you're a lunch Thanksgiving eater.
We're like a 4 or 5 clock kind of family.
Yeah, see, we're a lunch, so like 1 o'clock, 1:30, maybe 2.
I never got that. I never got why people eat Thanksgiving at like 1 or 2.
We've just always done that. Like have our dinner at lunchtime.
But what do you do at like 8 o'clock?
You eat leftovers.
Oh, I hate leftovers. You know that.
Well, that's one man's opinion.
Yeah,
but...
I'm making buffalo mac and cheese this year. I did get assigned one task to do, and I'm going to look up a nice recipe.
So don't mess up your one job. But
it's hard to mess up mac and cheese.
Getting back to the football, we got the 5-5 Raiders facing off against the 7-3 Cowboys. Cowboys, of course, a Thanksgiving stronghold as well. We already mentioned the losing streaks for both these teams. The Cowboys having 2 clunkers in their last 3, and the Cowboys even have lost 3 of their last 4 Thanksgiving games, including, I don't even remember this game. Last year they lost 41-16 to Washington football team on Thanksgiving.
I couldn't tell you who the quarterback for Washington last year was. So
yeah, was this like Dwayne Haskins? Was this Kyle Allen? Was it Heineke? Was this
I don't even know.
Alex Smith? Like,
yeah. Might have been Smith.
Yeah, I'm not sure who the quarterback was at this point, but they ended up losing 41-16. The Cowboys did. We kind of mentioned the 3-game stretch struggle for Derek Carr, the 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 2 fumbles during their 3-game losing streak. On the Cowboys side, Tyron Smith, their offensive lineman, he's been battling an ankle injury. He is actually expected to play in this ball game for the first time since Week 8, so that would be a big boost to this offense. As we mentioned earlier, some of the key playmakers that may not be out there. Amari, with COVID, is definitely not going to be out there. CeeDee Lamb trying to get through concussion protocol, and then Zeke getting banged up in last week's game. He's also been battling a knee injury the past couple weeks.
Yeah, it will be an interesting matchup, but I ultimately think the Cowboys are the stronger team. They have the highest line and of all the games at -8.
Yeah, 8-point favorite at home.
Yeah, they're gonna take it. The Raiders have just been uninspiring, and I don't see really how they can be inspired to win this game at all.
I feel like the Raiders aren't. I mean, obviously the Cowboys are a team that always plays on Thanksgiving. I feel like the Raiders should not play on Thanksgiving. I don't know what it is.
No, it's not a Thanksgiving. Even though the autumn wind is a Raider, Roach. No, not in this case. I think the boys take this one. That's why I'm taking the Cowboys.
Yeah, I've got the Cowboys as well for similar reasons.
I guess just silver and black is not like great Thanksgiving. That's like Halloween colors.
Yeah,
you know?
maybe that's what I'm thinking, and just like the logo and everything, like the pirate logo. I don't know, but we both got the Cowboys.
But then again, blue and silver is not a good.
Not much
the
better.
Cowboys or the Lions. I don't like those colors.
Yeah, but let's move to the last game, the 8:20 game, probably the
Ravens,
best game of
Halloween
the day.
Team.
Good Thanksgiving team. Yeah. So let's get to the Bills, 6-4, 4.5-point favorite over the 5-5 Saints in New Orleans. And just like all these other teams, both these teams have been struggling. The Bills have lost 2 of their last 3, losing to the Jaguars and then losing to the Colts. And then the Saints have lost their last 3 games without Jameis Winston. And I found this out, Stein, and I guess it makes sense because obviously he's a quarterback, like franchise quarterback, and Josh Allen. So Josh Allen, in their 4 losses this season for the Bills, he's only got 6 touchdown passes, 5 interceptions, and he's lost 2 fumbles. So 6 touchdowns and 7 turnovers.
Yeah.
And their 6 wins this season, he's got 18 total touchdowns, including 3 rushing touchdowns, just 3 interceptions, and no fumbles. So 18-3 touchdown interception ratio, and then 6-7 touchdown to turnover ratio in their losses.
So it's feast or famine for Josh Allen.
Yeah, so if Josh Allen has a good game, the Bills are probably going to, like I said, it kind of makes sense. Like, if Josh Allen has a good game, they're going to win. He's a quarterback
obviously.
And all that. But it's just shown in their 4 losses, the reason they've lost is because Josh Allen has underperformed.
And the reason they've won is because they just continue, they just build upon their score. 18 touchdowns in 6 wins is a lot of touchdowns because they've won a few games by like 20 or so points.
Yeah, exactly. So Josh Allen is definitely going to be the key for this one. And then on the flip side for the Saints defense during their 3-game losing streak has allowed 30 points per game. On average, in their first 7 games... That includes
a Falcons loss, by the way.
Yes, 27-25. In their first 7 games where they had a 5-2 record, they were only allowing 18 points per game. So once again, the Saints defense, because we've talked about no Michael Thomas, no Kamara these past 2 games, no Jameis Winston the past 3 games, their offense was pretty bad going into this season, and especially now with all the injuries and stuff.
Yeah.
They've been relying on their defense, and their defense has not been delivering over the past 3.
No, and it's a lot of woes. I mean, this is a completely different team than the Saints from years past. I mean, you have you're like 3 levels removed from Drew Brees now. You don't have your best weapon at all, who's not even going to be on the field this entire season. You also just lose your tight end too, who's been a little bit of a factor, and then Kamara, who's been probably your most consistent piece, has been all over the place.
Yeah, and he's pretty much up in the air now to playing on Thursday.
And then Taysom Hill, God knows what they're going to do with him. Bring back Mark Ingram, who's actually been playing well, but
because he's been
the only
considerable guy for them.
So the defense is the one thing that's having to remain consistent, but they are just having to be too relied upon. It's like they're going to have to be ridden to them for the Saints to be good.
And I mean, it's going to be tough to get on track against this high-scoring Bills offense.
Yeah, especially coming off an embarrassing defeat against the Colts.
Yeah, you saw when they lost 9-6 against Jacksonville. I mean, it was against the Jets, but they put up 45 points on the Jets 2 weeks ago.
Think of this in the Colts' perspective, though. The Saints and the Colts aren't very comparable teams. You could think that even with Kamara, the Saints, I don't think, are very comparable. So you could see the Bills just coming out and destroying the Saints. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, I think even at home for the Saints, I think they're going to struggle in this ball game. Like I said, just with the bad offense, how the defense has been performing lately, and the Bills coming off of a loss, they're going to be angry going into this ball game. And I also have the Bills in this ball game winning.
Yeah. So those are our Thanksgiving game, guys. I think this is going to be a boring Thanksgiving overall. That's why I'm picking the Lions to give me some excitement.
Try to give you a little bit of flavor.
It gives me a little excitement because I want to watch that game because that's probably the one game I'll watch.
Yeah, that's
4:30 I'll be eating and 8:20 I'll probably be sleeping. So.
Yeah, that's what I'll definitely be putting in like some DFS lineups so I can kind of have something in these ball games.
Yeah, don't forget fantasy-wise,
guys. Set your fantasy lineups. I
don't know. I mean, I guess Cowboy player, Bills players probably, maybe.
Yeah, there'll definitely be some couple guys sprinkled in here. Probably not as much in that Bears-Lions game, but
yeah, Swift is probably the main guy.
Be sure to set those lineups. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for our show. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram at The Couch Quarterbacks for all the updates on when we'll be posting. But for Andrew Rochford, Ben Steinberg, and we will see you guys on the flip side.